Hey, I'm Paul, the founder of Tebow Method, an after-school nonprofit program for struggling students in East Palo Alto. And I'm going to give you a brief overview of what our students learn here at Tebow Method. This is just a snapshot of what one of our fourth graders, Jorge, has learned in about 2 months out of the 4 months that he's been in our program. He started off loving baseball. So we started off by talking about logos with him, and it turned out that Jorge had a real strong motivation to not just draw the logos, but to do research on logos, learn about their history, in addition to drawing them out. In the process of this project, he was learning how to do background research, he was reading, and he was also learning to use the computer to type up the histories that he made. That kind of led to actually his favorite team and how much the players made on his favorite team. Well, actually his second favorite team, which turns out to be the LA Angels. And in the process of this project, he had to learn how to use Excel. In order to put the players' names and some characteristics about them, and then most importantly, how much they make. And he was surprised to find out how much money players make on one single team. But in the process, he was learning computer skills, he was learning math, and how to organize information. That all kind of then led to a project on safety, because Jorge is a baseball player himself and loves Buster Posey. That's his favorite position as a catcher. So we asked him, well, why don't we make a safety manual so that players on a team could be more safe? So here's just a couple pages out of the manual. And what he had to do was, using his own experience and then going onto the internet and doing research, create a list of various safety points. But that's not enough, because you also want to know what the field looks like. And so in each of his pages, he had to do different designs of the field. And so you can see here that he is working on his visual layout, so like diagramming, visualizing information. He had to do various numerical work, so kind of working on some of his math skills. And in the process of doing his writing the safety points, he was doing a lot of reading and a lot of writing. So kind of all of this got Jorge really excited about talking to someone in sports. So we were actually able to link up with Nick Wagner, an ESPN 49er journalist down in Santa Clara who covers the 49ers, and he was gracious enough to let Jorge interview him. So in the process of preparing for the interview, Jorge had to do a ton of background research, which means a lot of reading, a lot of searching on different websites to learn about who Nick was, the work that Nick has done, the players that Nick covers, and what questions he wanted to ask Nick. So going over the questions was quite a process for him. Lots of critical thinking, lots of creative thinking, lots of brainstorming, lots of iterating his questions and replacing ones he thought he wanted to do with new ones. And he ended up, asking 3 questions. How much and what types of reading do you do as a sports reporter, and why is it important to you? Parentheses, Jorge came into our program 2 years below grade level in reading. So it's interesting that one of his top questions was about what kind of reading a sports journalist needs to do. The second question was, what types of math do you do as a sports reporter? He loves math. And the third question is, can you give me 3 pieces of advice for interviewing a high school player? Jorge decided that he might want to learn how to interview players in the future, so why not ask an expert in interviewing players? And all this took place at a local library where he interviewed Nick Wagner, and we put the video up onto our blog on our website, and you can see it there at tebowmethod.org under the blog page if you'd like to watch Jorge interview. And after the interview, we did a reflection. And interestingly, one of the reflections that Jorge reflection points he had is, I learned that sports is not the only thing that I can do. So when Jorge started, he had this conception that playing baseball was kind of the singular thing he wanted to do. Over the first couple months in our program, he started to realize there's a lot of other professions, a lot of other passions within the passion that he can pursue. And finally, to close off this interviewing project, a sports reporting project really, he wrote an essay about why reading is important to him. And the bottom line is that he realized if he's going to become a sports reporter, that he's going to need to learn how to read and how to write, because these guys have to read. They have to read stories themselves. They have to write stories themselves, and he was surprised happily that there's more reading that goes into his passion than he had realized. So this is just about 2 months of our programming. He's been in our program now for four months, and we're happy to report that he has actually caught up all 2 grade levels in his 4 months in our program. He loves to read, and he has learned a lot about what baseball has to offer beyond just playing the sport. And not only that, he's currently now starting to work on graphic design. It turns out that he likes making PowerPoints. And so we are teaching him how to use different applications like Photoshop, how to make presentations in PowerPoints, and how to use graphic design software like Canva to make a flyer for a birthday party that he is going to have. Regardless of what the students' passions are, because this is just an example of one student's passions, we have students who love bikes, we have students who love art, we have students who love cartoons. Regardless of what the passions are, we teach them a set of skills that are practical skills, creative skills, and intellectual skills. And in the process of them pursuing their passions, they're learning a broad, comprehensive set of skills they need to catch up and be successful in school.